Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Dimes, a college basketball podcast. I'm Matthew Brune, and joining me once again is Jamie Shaw. Jamie, how you doing today?
Matthew, man, it's good. We're right around the corner, man. Basketball
Of
season is
course.
here. It's about time to stop talking and start playing. Ready to rock.
As much as I enjoy people reporting on and covering exhibition games, it's just it's not quite the same.
Yeah,
Quite the same of being like, well, I don't know who exactly played or what the strategy was because coaches obviously are trying different things at this point in the year, so I can't really hold any water in those without seeing them. So
100%.
still. But yes, if you haven't already, go check out our ACC preview, our Big East preview, our mid-major preview. Today we got the Big 12 on deck, and awesome basketball conference has been for years. Even expanding out to 16 teams now, they're still one of the best conferences in the country. And I'm excited to talk about them. We're going to go through our top 5 teams each first, and then we'll go through our sleeper pick, freshman of the year, player of the year, and coach of the year. Let's start with our predictions. Our predicted order of finish. I think we went through it beforehand. We have the same number 1 in Houston, and we have the same number. Oh, no, you have BYU 2.
Yes.
So we'll go back and forth. I have Texas Tech too. But let's start with Houston here. The national runner-ups a year ago, obviously a fantastic team. And it looks like they've just reloaded and they have they have a lot of high-level returners. Obviously, I did a Texas basketball podcast the past 4 years, and they were covering them like in depth, like watching their games with that view on. Was really interesting to see Kelvin Sampson and them make the jump from the American to the Big 12 and just not miss a beat to where they are always a contender. They're always one of the best teams in the country. And now with this freshman class that they've brought in, it looks like they have the top end talent to pair with the obvious returners of JoJo Tugler, Emmanuel Sharp, and Milos Uzan. I'll throw it to you. Thoughts on this team and our favorites to win the Big 12?
Yeah, well, this is almost kind of a buying in on Kelvin Sampson and what he's able to do. He has a lot of talent, as you mentioned. He's going to have to rely on freshmen this year, which is not something he's necessarily done over the past 5 or so years as Houston's grown into this national power that they are. But he returns guys in the backcourt with Milos Uzan and Emmanuel Sharp, who should vie for all league honors. He has 2 guys that can create offense at the point of attack. He's got 2 guys that can create advantages on ball. Sharp is a good shooter, both of them two-way players, especially Emmanuel Sharp, of what he can do getting into somebody. And then scoring the basketball. You're going to need to have Kingston Flemings and Chris Senack ready to come in and play. Both of them are potential NBA types of guys that'll be watched. Not necessarily saying they're one and dones, but guys that'll be watched this year. They'll need to be in the top 5 performers of the team. Chris Senack, a 6'10", very fluid athlete who can knock down shots, as well as have some positional versatility on defense. And Kingston Fleming is just a tough-minded lead guard, a guy who fits right in line with exactly what Kelvin Sampson wants to do. He should be able to either crack the lineup in a 3-guard lineup or, provide great minutes as a backup to the 2 guys. You have possibly the best defensive player in the league with JoJo Tugler coming in at 5, playing alongside Chris Senack. You have Isaiah Harwell coming in, who's another top 20 type recruit, a big, strong, physical guard who can knock down shots. What it's going to be with them is kind of what does the front court depth look like? Are they going to be able to have the Seth Last of the world, the Jacob McFarlands of the world, take steps, and get into that rotation to where they can play meaningful minutes? They were so physical on the block this past year, and that really wore teams down, opposing teams down, especially around the rim, the basket. One thing for certain, I've heard Kelvin say this before. I know they preach it: defense travels, rebounding travels. If they're plus in the rebounding margin and make enough shots, this team is going to have a chance. You're buying in on what Kelvin Sampson's done, especially with the talent that he has on this team. But very intriguing to see what it looks like. There are questions, as I had mentioned before, are the freshmen ready to step into integral roles? What does the front court depth look like? But this team is talented.
Yeah. You mentioned the front court depth. I think Khalifa Sacco
Mm-hmm.
from Sam Houston is going to be really important there. I think they're going to have him play a legitimate role off the bench. And the Chris Senack, I don't want to say experiment, but the addition there, if he starts at the 4, I am curious because and you obviously know better than me in terms of what exactly his play style is, and you've seen him a lot more up close and stuff. Um, the physicality that Houston plays with, is he going to be able to just step in and immediately just be like, boom, he's a high level rebounder, defender and stuff like that? Or are those the areas where he's going to have to improve on going into this year?
Yeah, I think that's kind of one of the reasons why he chose Houston is because he knows
Hmm.
that that's something the defensive side of the basketball, the physicality aspect, and all that is something he's got to grow into. He's got all the tools, he's got all the offensive ability. Now it's about putting it together and piecing things together, bringing in the defensive tools, putting the tools to use to create advantages still with the fluidity of what he's able to bring. So I think he's got the wide ranging tools of what he's able to do. Now it's about streamlining it together and best how do you help your team best win?
Yeah.
And I think that was a big factor in him choosing Houston.
Yeah, getting Uzan back is obviously huge. I know he had ups and downs last year, especially earlier in the season, and I was kind of figuring out finding his footing. But in terms of what they want at that position and replacing a star in Jamal Shed, who was fantastic on both sides of the ball, I'm not sure you could have asked him anything more. Now you go into this year, I mean, I expect even bigger things from Uzan Sharp. We know what he's going to do as a shooter. And then I think Isaiah Harwell is going to be the real X factor here in their backcourt. Is he ready to come in and just fill it up? Can he? I don't want to put like a number on it, but can he come in confident as a scorer, shooter, and playmaker for them to play off of Uzan? And then Flemings as well. I mean, they're pretty big. Like if you between Uzan, Harwell, Sharp's probably the shortest of that group, but like they're pretty big in the backcourt, and we know what they do on the boards and on defense. So really, really fun team. I expect for them to be, top 5 in defense again, and the offense could be even better than what it was last year in terms of just overall variety and like playmakers.
Yeah, and you have multiple guys who can guard at the point of attack. You have JoJo Tugler who cleans up a lot in the back, and if those guys can step up, the Sacker to the left, the McFarland, the bigs can step up to bring the physicality on the back line. This team, this team's going to be they're going to be right there.
Yeah. All right, number 2, you have BYU, so let's go there. Um, Obviously, headlines, AJ DeBonsta, but I'll let you talk about the rest of the team and everybody and what makes this team your second best team in the Big 12.
I really like what they looked like last year toward tournament time. I thought that they went through the early aspects of it, getting Yegor Damon together, bringing back the other point guard, Dallin Hall, who's experienced, getting them to play together once Hall came back. Um, they were figuring it out throughout a lot of the year. And then once kind of the January, February point hit, they just started clicking. So I really like in year one of what Kevin Young, what he was able to do and preach and put together. I think he put together a roster this past offseason that fits and tailors kind of toward his NBA style of offense and what he brings with being able to create advantages, especially from the wing positions. Then you add into the fact a consummate point guard with Rob Wright that he brought in from Baylor, somebody who's able to orchestrate the offense and get everybody else in the flow while still kind of getting his. But everything's going to be run through what they have on the wing here with Richie Saunders coming back and then AJ Dybans what he brings. Both of those guys have positional size. Both of those guys can stretch the floor with their shooting ability, but they can also create offense with ball in hand. You can put them as the initiator in the pick and roll. You can play them as the spacer as well in the pick and roll. And it could be a very interesting two-man game coming from either side of the wing, able to create offense, both from the 2-3 position. Bringing in Kennard Davis, who's an experienced double-figure scorer, a bounce-up guy who's going to need to, hold his own as the fifth option on this team. Then Keba who's a very strong physical guy on the block that gets rebounds and creates advantages around the basket. I really like their starting 5 a whole lot as to what they bring. You got Dawson Baker, Nate Pickens coming in the backcourt who bring experience. And then you have Xavier Staten, who was quite possibly the top rim protector in the 2025 recruiting class as well. He's newer to basketball, so it'll be interesting to see how he's able to come along and what he's able to bring along there. But he brings a very valuable tool in the rim protection. I really like the makeup of this team. I really like what Rob Wright brings with being able to have a traditional point guard, but also getting them into sets and having the 2 wings with Richie Saunders and AJ Dybasa, who will be vying for all-league type accolades. Start the offense, create the offense, be able to create advantages, at 6'6" and 6'9". of what they're able to do. The Kennard Davis, Kevin Cade. I just think this team is very well put together to fit the style of what he has, and they have high level talent of guys that will be looked at the next level.
Yeah, I love that AJ doesn't have to come in and be like the guy, the focal point here. I mean, obviously he's going to get his and he's going to be awesome, but I love that he can play off Saunders and Wright. Like I just you got two guys, and I know Wright's only a sophomore, but last year at Baylor he was thrown into the fire, played really well as the year went on, got better, and then BYU, got him in the portal, and I think that's huge to where AJ doesn't have to be this ball in hand guy running 20 balls, playing out of 20 ball
Yeah.
screens and having to, half court initiate all the time and stuff. Because he can do that. But at the same time, I would love him as a cutter, as a transition guy, just obviously make life easy on him early in the season. And then once we get to January, February in conference play, then you start to see him, I think, take over a little bit more with ball in the hands. So, like you said, Saunders, Wright, DeBansta, Davis, I think was a huge addition, like you mentioned. The front court is a question for me. It's not a negative, I'd say, but it is a question mark to see how in a conference with this much size, physicality, rebounding, and stuff, they're going to need their bigs to step up and play at a high level in order to match up.
Yeah, no, I'm just super fascinated to see what this team looks like. They're going to play UNC in an exhibition game this coming week, and that might be the game I have circled the most outside of Duke and Tennessee to be able to watch. I'm just eager to see what this BYU team looks like on the floor together. I mean, I think we'll talk about AJ DeBanson later in the thing, but there's a lot of stuff there.
Spoiler alert: when we talk about freshman of the year, maybe he'll be in the conversation at least. All right, my number 2 is Texas Tech. You have the number 3. I don't have a problem with that, but I do think it's interesting for a team that made the Elite Eight last year, was number 9 overall in KenPom, returns obviously Christian Anderson and JT Toppin. And I understand, Darian Williams leaves and they have some other players move on. But I just absolutely love the portal additions they got with Lawan Watson, Donovan Atwell. I mean, those two on the wing, I think, make a massive difference. And then Luke Bamboye from VCU, one of the best, defenders, rim protectors, if we're talking about in the Big 12 this year. I think that's going to be huge for their defense. And just knowing Grant McCasland and how he likes playing defense and what he values, I think rim protection is at the forefront of that. And when you have Toppin and Bamboye, and I think they have enough size around them, I'm really, really bullish on this team getting better defensively from where they were last year. Last year, they finished 39th in KenPom defensively, which isn't bad, but they were 5th on offense. So you saw the disparity there. But Toppin, I mean, coming off an 18-9 season with 1.5 blocks, I'm not sure how much more he can do, but I think we're gonna find out. Like if he can get to 20-10, 20-10 and 2 is on the table. If everything goes right, he's a fantastic player, and getting him back was obviously huge. But yeah, the wings, Watts and Atwell. I mean, the scoring is one thing, but I do think they have some real juice off the dribble, and you pair that with Christian Anderson, who we both expect to have a big year. I have no problem saying that I think this is going to be another elite offense, and I think they can take a step forward defensively enough to where you feel them more. There were times at least last year where it felt like teams didn't feel them. And I know, Toppin's physical and stuff, but like I think this year you can really see a different personality of the team. So, and I trust Grant McCasland. I think there was a stat where he has outperformed his preseason KenPom ranking at the last 9 years as a head coach, which is absurd. Texas Tech is currently predicted 12th in KenPom going into the year, so we'll see if they can surpass that. But that's Texas Tech. That's why I have them number 2.
With Texas Tech, they have the talent, as you said. Great portal additions. You also add Tyree Bryan there, Donovan Atwell, both 40-plus guys from three-point shooting that they have added to the step from Christian Anderson. You have Lawan Watts coming in to kind of take over that Darion Williams type role of a guy who can play at the 3-4 position and be an offensive hub and pass the ball, move the ball around. Bam Goye, as you said, is a rim protector. My curiosity comes as to the lineups and the rotations as to what kind of they look like. Also with the step from Christian Anderson. Christian Anderson is a tough-minded, hard-nosed, score-first type point guard. He's a high-volume guy, ball in hand, creating advantages in that manner. What does the chemistry between him and JT Toppin look like? Obviously, the Big 12 Player of the Year this past year. Also with JT Toppin, what does the spacing look like, and how are they going to use him? You bring in a Luke Bamgoye type of guy with JT Toppin. How does the spacing look? JT Toppin operates kind of around the basket and all that. And then Bamgoye with his above the rim protection and everything. Lawan Watts is a fascinating player. I think that's an underrated pickup coming out of the portal. As I mentioned, Darion Williams was an offensive hub this past year. Lawan Watts has that same kind of processing, passing ability, able to get the ball in the half court and create advantages for himself and his teammates as well. You have the spacing, I said, with Brian and Atwell coming together. So they're going to be able to space the floor and run some fun, creative offense together. I'm just curious as to what the rotations look like. I'm also looking at a big step from Josiah Mosley coming in. Really, really,
Yes.
really liked him coming out of high school.
Same.
Started off over, and I guess, at Villanova, came back home toward Texas. Now he's, I think there's a step in play there for him to be able to just be a force, a big factor, starting coming off the bench and then earning his way into more minutes as he's able to show his efficiency and what he's able to produce as well. So I like the makeup of this team well. The question marks that I have kind of come up with how they stagger the minutes, what the minutes look like together, and kind of what the chemistry looks like with the team on the floor together. Again, as you said, Grant McCasland, when we talked to him earlier, he's been able to win in a lot of different ways. He can slug it out. He can get up and down. He showed last year with the offense that he can play. So great coach and all that. I'm just very interested to see what the Texas Tech team looks like. I mean, another guy that made a run in the tournament this past year. This team's a different looking team, but he's got some central pieces back. Surrounded by some very good portal pieces that look good on paper. So how quickly can they gel, and what does it look like with the chemistry? Lots of talent, though.
Yeah. All right, and your number 4 is Arizona, the
Mm-hmm.
Wildcats, Tommy Lloyd. I'll throw it to you. I am a little bit lower on them than I think the consensus is, and you are here, but I understand the talent and what they have here. So talk to me about Arizona and what they got.
Well, so you return Jaden Bradley and Awaka. So
Mm-hmm.
the 1 and 5 come back together, and then you have Del Orso coming back, who's who's got experience. He can kind of
Yeah.
piece everything together. So I like the experience that they have coming back. You also have Krivas coming at the 5-man, so they're going to be able to have a nice little 5 combo with Awaka and Krivas together. They can give different looks. One a more physical look, another more kind of, I guess, skilled look, and all that. I like what they bring at the 5, able to kind of piece those minutes together. Jaden Bradley comes back, former McDonald's All-American, top recruit, started at Alabama, came to really downhill guard, able to put pressure on the defense at the point of attack, move the ball, distribute, have played a lot of high-level games. Del Orso is another guy who can have ball in hand and create advantages. He can process. You can run different looks with him, either being spacing the floor in the corner or putting him as the initiatory in a pick-and-roll type situation, or run offense off of him at 6'7". The X factor for this team, all those pieces are nice, but I think Koa Pete is going to be the guy that really, really puts this team over the top. He's somebody who has won at every level, 3 FIBA gold medals, 4 state championships. He's produced since he was at, playing 17U as a freshman in high school. Dad played the NFL offensive line. Brother was a first-round draft pick in the offensive line in the NFL. Comes from an athletic family. Koa Pete is an advantage creator, ball in hand, 6'7" ish. He's got great length. He's able to create advantage. As I said, put the ball in his hand, and he can create offense. He's a physical, tough player. The fascinating aspect with Koa Pete throughout his high school career was the athleticism.
Mm-hmm.
He showed up at U19 USA this summer, and he was putting his head at the rim.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be curious as to what that athleticism looks like, how that carries over into the season. Also, another story about Koa Pete. He played the entire playoffs this year, high school playoffs, with a broken right thumb. Cast in hand, couldn't use his right hand, played the entire playoffs, won another state championship as well. He's just got an it factor to him that brings things to him. Brayton Berry's another freshman coming in. He's a very high floor type player. And I'm really intrigued to see what the foreign guys that they brought in, the international players that they brought in, bring. Ivan, I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name because I'm not Karchnikov. Ivan Karchnikov, I believe, it could be in the realm. 6'7" guy, really good with the ball in his hand. He's very skilled as a player. Then CD Guy, long, athletic, rangy player, kind of up front as well. So very eager to see what those two guys, Karchnikov and Guy, bring to the table. They have returning pieces, as I said, with Krivas and Awaka up front. Jaden Bradley, the point guard at the point of attack. And then you have Della Orso, who's got a lot of experience as well. Bringing in Braden Berries and Cole Pete. Really like the makeup of the team. They have a lot of talent. Tommy Lloyd has been known to have deep rotations. They're not going to need for these new guys to be great because they have the experience coming back, but these new guys can be great. How good they are will go how far they are. And I think they're a team that they start off at number 4. We could see them possibly end up even higher than that as the season goes on with Tommy Lloyd.
Yeah. Another freshman to watch, Dwayne Aristode, top 25 guy, 6'8", wing forward. I saw him a little bit on the AAU circuit. Very, I think high. I think he can come in and help them right away. I'm not saying I don't think he starts this year or anything like that, but I think he is someone that can help them, like you said, in a deeper rotation.
He's an ultimate 3-and-D guy. 6'7",
Yeah.
6'8". He can really shoot the corner 3, and he's an athletic, fluid mover. That's the reason why we kept him high throughout the entire process, despite the kind of the fluid outputs that he's had. There's a lot of boxes that he checks for the highest levels.
Yeah, the again, like you said, I think a lot of this is reliant on Pete and Burris. I think those two as top 10 prospects clearly can help this team get to the top 3, top 4 in the Big 12. But I am curious just what that looks like in January, February when you're, at Texas Tech, at Kansas, or at Iowa State, like in these settings where freshmen are going to have to grow up really quickly. And it helps to have Jaden Bradley and Awaka and these guys, but it is going to be a lot for Pete. And if they are able to do it, then Pete and Burries will be first-round draft picks, and, you don't have to worry about it. But
there's a very real scenario here where Pete makes a run at first-team All-League type of player.
Yeah.
He's a very real impact player.
Yeah, I think that's what the bet is on here, and I don't have a problem with betting on Cole Pete because the growth that he's had over the past year and a half or so has been substantial to where I saw him 2 years ago over the summer, and I was like, I see talent, but it wasn't like it didn't pop. Now he pops. Now it's like you said, he's getting his head at the rim, and it's different. And so that's where I'm interested to see Cole Pete this year. Very, very exciting team. Like you said, I'm glad they have the 5 spots short up, though. You get Krivas back off of the foot injury. Awaka returns. I think they're good at the 5. They're good at the 1. And then Cole Pete at the 4. So very, very talented team. Very excited. Tommy Lloyd, as we know, tremendous coach. And I'm excited to see them this year. My number 4 is Iowa State. Honestly, this is not going to be the sexiest team we talk about here. This is probably going to be the most boring team we talk about here. But I think when you return Joshua Jefferson, you return Lipsy, you return Momcilovic, you return Heiss, and I think just with that core paired in with, honestly, I like the Virginia big that they brought in, Blake Buchanan, who averaged 1.1 blocks per game. I think he can help them at that 5 position. And then you just bring in what TJ Otzelberger does, and he's going to field the top 15 defense in the country again. I just have too much faith in this returning talent to not have them as a top 4 team, not top 5 team in the Big 12 this year. There's going to be a lot of fun teams, a lot of teams that are more fun to watch, I guess, in terms of their offensive output. But even last year, Iowa State ended the year 19th in KenPom in offense. So it's not like they were a bad offensive team, but I just have a lot of faith in Lipsy, Jefferson, Momcilovic in this group. Veterans, seniors, winners, and I think that they're going to have a really, really strong season for Iowa State this year.
I like a lot of the pieces of Iowa State. My question comes with how do they replace Curtis Jones and Keyshawn Gilbert in the backcourt? And what they've done is they've brought in a couple of very intriguing freshmen like Jamarian Bateman and Killian Torrey, 2 guys that I think have very bright futures in college. How quickly do they step up to the play, to the Power 5 play? Will be interesting for the long-term ceiling of what this Iowa State team has. Milan Momcilovic is a unique player. He's not like somebody that they necessarily. I guess he's been there for 3 years, but he's not like a traditional TJ Otzelberger type player. He's an offensive weapon.
Yeah.
His ability to get the ball in the mid post and just create offense in the mid range is very unique. Obviously today's basketball is all about threes and rim twos. He's somebody who can grab the ball at 15 feet, create advantages, and he has step throughs, and he has just a plethora of ability to create offense within a phone booth. I'm very eager to see how that's utilized and deployed, especially on the defensive side as well. But then when you have with Joshua Jefferson beside him, who can erase a lot of stuff defensively with his length and his ability to move his feet, guard up and down the lineup as well, and Tamin Lipsey, who's one of the best point of attack defenders in the college game. Very interesting. I agree with you. I think Blake Buchanan's in for a possible breakout year. I think he's somebody that we can hear talked about, toward the end of the season as to how valued of an asset he is for this Iowa State team. My questions with the Iowa State team again come from how do they, what type of step does Momcilovic take as possibly the central figure for the offense, the main scorer for this offensive team? What type of step does he take into that role? Can he get into that role? And then how do they replace in the backcourt what Curtis Jones and Keyshawn Gilbert brought? Can Jamarian Bateman and Killian Torrey step into that role? They have the talent. Otzelberger is obviously one of the, has proven to be one of the better coaches out there too. So more so questions that I have than answers for this team. Also a team that's probably going to, be right around that top 25, line as well.
Yeah. At number 5, we both have Kansas, so we'll wrap it up there. We can't do a Big 12 preview without Kansas on here. So Bill Self and the Jayhawks add Darren Peterson. They also have a very interesting cast around them as they look to get back on track. I'll throw it to you first. Kansas Jayhawks, number 5 in both of our preseason polls. What do you think of them?
Well, all eyes on this Kansas team are going to be with Darren Peterson.
Yep.
We're going to see how far Darren Peterson is able to carry this team, and it's going to be fascinating to see. I think that within this team, he has a very intriguing piece alongside him with Flory Badunga. I think the Flory Badunga, Darren Peterson pick and roll is going to be something that's going to be worth watching.
Yeah.
Darren Peterson is awesome in the pick and roll. He's an on ball, high usage guy on ball who heavily utilizes the pick and roll to be able to get within the teeth of the defense. Being able to have a partner like that with Floyd Badunga is going to be fascinating because Badunga, talk about being able just to clean up a lot of stuff around the rim with his explosive athleticism. My question with this Kansas team is the shooting aspect.
Yep.
Also the big depth, but the shooting aspect. Obviously, with the pick and roll, you need spacing. Are they able to pull enough spacing out to the out to the corners? You have guys. Jay Dawson comes in. He's a career 36% 3-point shooter. Well, what does that look like transferring up to the Big 12? You have Melvin Council coming in, sub 30 guy this past year. You have Trey White coming in. Another guy who's not necessarily known for his shooting aspect. Can a Cole Rosario or somebody like that step in and create good minutes for himself by just standing in the corner and being able to knock down 38% of his threes? I think that's going to be a huge aspect. This could be a big year for Trey White coming in, providing the team's able to get enough spacing possible. I think playing him off of the pick and roll on the weak side, being able to have one-on-one advantages and utilize his ability to create some offense in that way could be very intriguing for him. What does the backup depth look like for Floyd Badunga? Paul Mbaya able to come in and give enough minutes, enough quality minutes there? Will the Bryson Tillers and the Samus Calderones of the world be able to come in and step in and get those minutes there for Floyd Badunga? This team has talent. They have guys that have experience and have had success in their past. And you have a very obvious core when it comes to Badunga and Peterson, what they're able to do together, what they're able to do within the pick and roll. The high uses of Peterson is going to be very intriguing to watch. Will he be able to keep the efficiency with the usage? There were times through his high school career, second defenders and help defense kind of gave him a little bit of troubles with making the reads coming out of the pick and roll within the teeth of the defense. Will he be able to develop the jump shot enough to be at least a threat within that pick and roll? He draws fouls within the teeth of the defense like nobody I've seen. That was a very unique trait within the 2025 class. Probably draws fouls better than anybody within the class. So I expect him to be at the free throw line a lot. But kind of what does the flow of offense look like with Darren Peterson running it? He's going to be the central figure. Bill Self's already called him the most talented freshman that he's coached. All this type of accolades coming in on Darren Peterson here. And we'll see. I mean, this Kansas team, we got to predict at number 5. Can he carry them to a higher ranking? We'll see.
Yeah, I won't add too much more. I think you covered it well. It's kind of the opposite, and why I'm higher on like BYU and AJ is like I said, AJ doesn't have to have the ball in his hands like constantly. I think Darren's gonna have the ball in his hands like a ton, and he is a more on ball guy than AJ in some respects. But he is going to be really really good with the ball in his hands from November through March and playing off Badunga, playing off White, like play off Dawson and these guys. Again, they have other creators here, but in terms of guys that I know can get you a bucket or create an advantage, I think it's going to be a lot of Peterson, and the usage for Peterson compared to AJ is going to be substantial
Mm-hmm.
this year. Like, and it may, we'll talk about it, but like Darren could win a lot of awards because he's just going to have the ball in his hands. He's going to score a lot of points and get an assist and stuff. But there's a lot of pressure, I think, on him right away to be really, really good. And so it'll be interesting because we know you don't just walk into the Big 12 and average 20 game on efficient shooting or anything like that. Like you're going to be tested. So very interested to see how Bill Self and them manage that. All right. That's our preview of the top 5 or 6 teams in the conference. The rest of them, I think just to real quickly go through some of the other ones. I have Baylor up next in terms of like the next team, but I also am high on a couple of these other teams. Let's talk about our sleeper picks. Um, you said you have Cincinnati as your sleeper pick. I love Cincinnati as well. I think this could be a really special year for them in terms of tournament and potentially winning a game or two in the tournament. So your sleeper pick, Cincinnati. What do you like?
I'm fascinated with the front court. I'm just fascinated with the front court. Mustafa Tiem is one of the most unique big men in the country with his ability to move at 7'1", his ability to erase stuff at the rim, get in the passing lane, slide his feet. He's got very unique defensive ability that can clean up a lot of stuff. You have Baba Miller, who's very skilled. Kind of came in with huge expectations into Florida State. Hadn't quite. He's been up and down throughout his time. Now he's FAU kind of got back on track, and then now back up to Cincinnati. He's a skilled guy with a 6'11" size. So then you pair a 6'11", 7'1" inside out guy. Mustafa Tiem started, shooting threes at the end of last year as well. What does that pairing look like? And then when you add in Sean Abayev, the high scoring freshman from Miami, top 40 type recruit, 6'7", able to create advantages offensively, shoot the ball. He can really, really score the basketball. How does he clean that up a little bit and become an efficient scorer? Not only to find his own production, but to find team production. How does he fit that within the offense? It's going to be interesting to watch, but he's got a raw ability to put the ball in the basket. You couple him with those two guys up front, that's a very unique front court. Then adding in Kerr Kriisa, you add in Day Thomas, you add in Sincere Harris. Their backcourt is very intriguing as well. Sincere Harris is one of the better perimeter defenders within the entire Big 12. There's a real ball hawk off ball, aggressive in the passing lanes. What he does. You got Kirk Kriisa, very well traveled, well known player, coming in for his final year of basketball. What does he look like in this role? And then you have Day Thomas, who played last year, got a lot of minutes this past year, and he's kind of a steadying force there at the point of attack. They did a really good job with the talent that they brought in. They brought in some players that are both experienced and talented. How do they all mesh together? And what's Wes Miller able to do to kind of put this team forward? They are somebody who is outside currently of the top 5 teams that I have, but could also find their way within that top 5 if they win a couple games and things come together pretty nicely for them. They have that type of talent.
Yeah, I like Cincinnati quite a bit. My sleeper pick is going to be Kansas State, and I wrestled through a few of these. I'm pretty bullish. I like relative to their ranking or preseason expectation stuff. I'm bullish on like an Oklahoma State, West Virginia. I think those two teams can push to be top 10, top 9 in this conference. But Kansas State, I have at number 9 in my Big 12 rankings, and as you go through all the other teams in this conference that aren't in the top 5, top 6, I mean, you look at PJ Haggerty and you're like, okay, the floor of this team, I think, is set. Like, I think you add a guy that had 22 points per games at Memphis last year, second team All-American. Like, what PJ Haggerty brings for them is a consistent force that you know what you're going to get as a scorer, as a creator, just an awesome player that they have. And I think with Memphis last year, that's what you saw. You saw all the pieces around him, whether they changed or whether they were good defensively, offensively, you knew what you were getting from PJ, and you saw it, early in the season when they got some big wins over UConn and such, where PJ is able to elevate his game. And now in the Big 12, I think this is a really good stage for him to where he can excel and play consistently at the level he needs to in order to, I think, potentially get drafted next year. So PJ sets the floor. I like Nate Johnson from Akron. I like Abdi Bashir from Monmouth. Tyreek Smith has kind of bounced around from SMU, averaged 1.7 blocks per game. Kamari McGriff from UNCW, a senior forward. So they have pieces here. I'm not projecting them to be a top 5, top 6 team, but with PJ Haggerty and the pieces they have, I think the floor is high enough here to say, yeah, they could get to 10-10 in conference. Like, that wouldn't shock me. They could get to 11-9. And I think when you have PJ, who's a veteran at this point, he can lead the way. And I still believe in Jerome Tang in terms of his defensive approach and the toughness that he brings there to coach them up and get to a winning season.
Yeah, no, yeah, I think they have a chance. Nice pieces on the roster, and as you said, PJ Haggerty gives you a chance.
All right, freshman of the year. Do we have different freshmen of the year here? Who's your pick?
Mine is AJ Dabansa.
Okay.
I think a lot of what AJ has done, he when we first debuted the 2026 class a couple of years ago, he was the number one player. He reclassified from 26 up into 25, remained the number one player. From start to finish, he's been the number one player in his class. Even going as far as when he was in high school, being the number one prospect in high school, which included the likes of Cooper Flagg and Con Knipple and Ace Bailey and guys that went this past year as well. So I think there's almost like a voter fatigue when it comes to that. Why LeBron didn't win all the MVPs in the heart of his career because it just got voter fatigue. Yeah, the same thing it was looking like with AJ Dabansa. Now people just kind of forgetting how really good that he is. The 6'9" aspect of his game, his ability to violently get downhill and create offense at the basket, but also where he popped early, even in 8th and 9th grade, was his ability to create advantages in the mid-range. His footwork within a phone booth of being able to get the shots in the mid-range, in the mid-post area, and really just go to work there. He still has that part of his game, and I think that's something you're going to see this season with his ability to do that, but also get downhill, finish high above the rim, and the jump shot coming around to be more of a threat, getting it in the 30s. Percentage-wise this season, I think what you're going to see is I think you're going to see him grow in efficiency. I think what you're going to see throughout the year playing with Kevin Young is he's going to be able to find the 14 shots within the flow of the offense throughout the course of a game that he wants. He's going to get the shots that he wants, and then I think he's going to see the comfort level of those shots grow as the season goes on, to where you see the efficiency be able to grow as the season goes on. I think you're going to see a streamlined approach to his game. He's got every tool in the book when it comes to the 6'9", the bounce, the lift, the fluidity athletically, the length, the athleticism, the pop, the shooting touch. The list goes on and on of the checks in the boxes that he has. I think when it comes to AJ Dabansa, I think you're going to see a guy who starts off the year strong. I think you're going to see a guy who continues, and by the end of the year, what we see in February is different from what we see in November when it comes to the efficiency aspect and really just honing in on his ability to really just produce and compete.
I have Darren Peterson. I agree with you in terms of there's voter fatigue with AJ because he's just been so good for so long. I Peterson is more so the pick for me just because, like I said, I think that he's gonna have the ball in his hands so much on this Kansas team. I do think it will matter if BYU finishes second in the conference and Kansas finishes like sixth. Then AJ will probably get the push over Darren. But if it's close, like third and fifth, third and fourth, fourth and fifth, I think Darren's usage is going to be so high on this team, and he's going to have to do so much here that if Kansas is a top 4 team, it's because of Darren Peterson. And I think that's going to kind of push him over the edge here. So Darren Peterson, my freshman of the year pick. Obviously, you have 2 of the top 3 freshmen in the country.
Don't sleep on Koa Pete here.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading up last night just because I like reading what other people think ahead of time. And I know when we did the ACC preview, I was like, this might be the best freshman conference in the country. The Big 12 might be the best freshman conference in the country. Obviously, Tunde Yesufu is another name I considered
Yeah.
from Baylor. I think he's going to have a tremendous year for Scott Drew and that team. You mentioned obviously Cole Pete, Chris Senack from Houston is going to be awesome. Jamarian Bateman, we talked about Iowa State. So a lot of awesome freshmen here. Isaiah Harwell, also Houston. So a lot of really fun freshmen in this conference, but I'm going to stick with Darren Peterson here. Let's see. Player of the year, and then we'll do coach of the year. We can get out of here. Player of the year, I have JT Toppin. I know I'm not breaking any records here with being an interesting pick, but JT Toppin, like I said, if he can average 20, 10, and 2 blocks almost, I mean, I don't see how, unless Texas Tech is outside the top 3 in the conference, then I don't see how, because I think Houston, while Uzan and them are all very, very good, I don't know if any of them are going to put up like the statistical profile to match JT. BYU, like I said, if AJ could very well have that statistical profile and maybe win it. Like Iowa State, I don't think Darren Peterson, like the 2 freshmen that we talked about would be the other 2, unless I'm missing somebody off the top of my head, that can fight for player of the year here. But I'm going to stick with JT Toppin just because I think he's going to be the focal point of Texas Tech, who should be a top 10 team in the country, top 2 or 3 team in the Big 12 this year.
My player of the year is going to be Emmanuel Sharp with Houston.
Okay.
He is somebody I think is going to be on the best team. I think there's room for growth for him when it comes to the statistics that you're talking about. I think he's going to be the focal point of the offense, able to create offense and knock down shots. He showed last year his ability to kind of knock down shots and everything. He's going to have more of a role this year, more of an ability to get a little bit loose and to be a central point of the offense. I think defensively as well, he brings a lot to the table also. For what it is, I think that Houston's a team that's going to start off in the top 5. They have a chance to remain in the top 5, provided they take care of their business that they're supposed to throughout the course of the year. I think Emmanuel Sharp is going to be consistently at the top of their production charts when it comes to that. And I think there's a very big chance for Emmanuel Sharp to take a step this season, into being in a conference stacked with talent, in a conference where the player of the year could go any which way. I think Emmanuel Sharp has a chance to really take a step into that light.
I like that pick a lot. I love that pick. All right, coach of the year. Who do you got?
Kelvin Sampson,
Okay.
best coach, best team. He'll eventually be a Hall of Famer. I just think there's a steady nature there as to what he brings to the conference. I think that he's going to be able to coach his guys up. And again, this is another one that could go any number of ways, depending on how BYU finishes out, depending on Texas Tech finishes out, depending on how Kansas finishes out, depending on Arizona. A lot of really, really good coaches in this league. I think Kelvin Sampson will be the head coach of the best team. My preseason going in, that gives him the edge for what he's going to do, coach of the year.
I'll go out on a limb then. I'm gonna go with and coach of the year a lot of times is coaches that exceed expectations substantially. They were your sleeper pick, Cincinnati, Wes Miller here. I think there's a real chance they get like into the top 4 of this conference if everything clicks, which it could. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I just believe defensively in this team quite a bit, and everything that you laid out. I think you did a great job covering all of it. But if they finish top 4 in the conference in this Big 12, I mean, considering where they're predicted entering the year, I think Wes Miller will get a lot of votes, especially if they're competitive with the other top teams here. So give me Cincinnati to have a breakout year. Give me Wes Miller to be coach of the year and surprise some people here. So there's my hot take for the pod.
Big 12 is going to be fun, man.
Yes, it is. It always
Heck of a
is.
conference.
It's always a good time. I mean, heck, again, like I said, starting off the pod, don't look too much into these exhibitions or secret scrimmages, but Ross Hodge in West Virginia came out to play in their exhibition game. I know
So did Oklahoma State. Steve Wilson,
Oklahoma
Oklahoma
State
State.
looks good as well. So we'll see. Another team that's fun, TCU, Jamie Dixon, David Punch, and Micah Robinson are young guys there. I'm interested to see. So yeah, very, very fun conference. Excited to see all these guys and all these teams play. As always, we'll be back next week with Big Ten And then we got the SEC, and then it's basketball time. Jeez, we're here. November
There
3rd
it is, baby.
starts up.
It is that. This is the most wonderful
There you
time
go.
of the year.
Yes, it is. All right. Thank y'all for joining us. Leave us a like, comment, share, subscribe if you have not already. Like I said, check out the other previews on our channel. That's Jamie Shaw. I'm Matthew Brune. Thank y'all for joining us, and we will talk to y'all later.
I know.